Welcome to revision week 6. This week we are looking at wired versus wireless connections on a network. We'll be looking at Ethernet, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Okay, so find revision sheet 6 which has been given to you in lesson. Make sure you've got a pen ready to complete. So, quick recap. Remember, we've looked at LANs, local area network, small geographical area. All the hardware is owned by the organization, and there are different topologies. And then WAN, a wide area network, is different LANs that are connected in different geographical locations, and some of the infrastructure is hired. But regardless of the type of network, there are two main methods of connecting the devices in the network. They are wired and wireless. So, wired networks. Any network that is connected, the device is connected using physical wires. And there are several different types of wires that you need to know. Ethernet cable. Ethernet cable is one of the most common type of wires that is used in a LAN network, local area network. Basically 4 pairs of wires that are twisted together to make the signal stronger, to reduce interference. However, Ethernet has a limited distance and lower bandwidth than some other cables, and it uses the Ethernet protocol on the LAN. The other main type of cable is fiber optic that's used on LANs and WANs. It's used on LANs for devices, but also used on WANs to provide internet connection things to your house, for example. Fiber optic transmits data as light. Because of that, it's much higher bandwidth than Ethernet, and it doesn't suffer from any interference. And you can send data over a much longer distance without any signal loss. But it is more expensive and it requires specialist hardware, which is more expensive to use. So, now, fill in the sections on the sheet, what type of network is it used on, and some of the key features of each type, Ethernet and fiber optic. Okay, time to check your answers. Hopefully you've paused and written down. So Ethernet is used on LANs, connecting devices on a LAN. 4 pairs of twisted copper wires, uses the Ethernet protocol, has a limited distance and lower bandwidth than fiber optic. Fiber optic is used on LANs and WANs. Data is transmitted by light. It's much higher bandwidth and transmits over longer distances, and there is no interference because it's been transmitted by light. Checking purple pen, add to your answers before continuing. Okay, let's move on. So, we know the types of wired cables used in wired networks. What are the strengths and weaknesses of a wired network? Well, the signal is stronger, it's more reliable than wireless because there's nothing stopping it. And it's generally faster bandwidth than wireless because the cable can travel more data or carry more data. However, with a wire, you are limited movement. You are stuck, tied to a cable, so you can't move around as well. On the sheet, advantages, disadvantages of wired networks. Write some down now. Okay, checking your answer. Stronger, more reliable signal, and generally faster bandwidth, higher bandwidth. Disadvantages, limited movement and mobility. You are stuck, tied to a cable, it's hard to move around. Okay, so we've talked about wired, let's talk about wireless. This is a type of connection that you have no wire. Data is sent through the air, generally as radio waves in some form. And the most common type that's used in a LAN is Wi-Fi, and it's the Wi-Fi protocol that's used to send and connect devices. Data is transmitted using radio waves. It requires a WAP transmitter to transmit the data, and all the devices have to have a wireless NIC, network interface card, to receive the data. So every device needs a wireless card to receive. Good thing about wireless, it's easy to add more devices. You just literally connect it up. There's a good range between 40 and 100 meters that you can move around. It's very easy to install. You just install the WAP and connect the devices. And there are no wires, so the user can move around within the area. However, weaknesses of wireless. There are possible security issues. The network could be vulnerable to hackers trying to hack into it. And reliability can be an issue. You can be affected by walls and other obstacles and distance moving too far away. Also, the speed might not be as fast as a wired connection. The speed may not be as fast. Generally, wired is faster than wireless. Okay, make some notes on your sheet. Strengths, weaknesses of wireless Wi-Fi. Okay, time to check your answers, please. So, Purple Pen, strengths, easy to add more connections, easy to install, movement is not limited, and there's a good range between sort of 40 and 100 meters. However, security risks from hackers, reliability can be affected by things like walls, and the speed may not be as fast as a wired connection. Purple Pen, add to your answers. Okay, next bit. So we know that wireless sends data through the air using radio waves between the device, between the WAP and the wireless network interface card, for example, and it's going through the air. You can't see it, it's going through the air. However, as it's transmitting, it uses different frequencies, and there are two different frequencies, radio frequencies, bands that you need to know about. That is 2.4 and 5 gigahertz. Now in 2.4, there are 14 different channels that can be used to send the data over, and they overlap. If you look at this diagram, the channels overlap. 5 gigahertz, however, has 23 different channels, a lot more channels. The channels are narrower, but they do not overlap. Now, because the 2.4 overlaps, you get interference and you get problems with sending it. 5 gigahertz has less interference because the channels do not overlap. So, what are the differences? Why does Wi-Fi have these two different frequencies? Okay, some key differences. 2.4 has a greater range of coverage. It can cover a bigger area. Look at this little icon here. It's bigger. And it's supported by most devices. It's been around for a long time. However, there is more chance of interference because the channels overlap. More problems with the data being sent. And it's not as fast. It's lower data transfer speeds compared to the other one. 5 gigahertz, there is less interference because less overlapping channels. And it transmits data faster at higher transfer speeds. However, not all devices support 5 gigahertz yet, and it's less able to penetrate, to go through walls and other obstacles. It is not as good at going through walls, and there is a smaller range. There is a smaller range compared to 2.4. Look at the little icon there. Okay, on the sheet, advantages, disadvantages of both of these two. You could be asked this in the exam. Okay, checking your answers. So 2.4 gigahertz, greater range and coverage, supported by most devices, but more chance of interference and lower speeds of transferring the data. 5 gigahertz, less interference and higher speeds, but not all devices support it, less able to go through walls, and one that's not on there, it is a smaller range as well. There is a smaller range that transfers. Purple Pen, add to your answers. Okay, final thing. There is one other final type of wireless connection which you need to know about. That is Bluetooth. I'm sure you've heard of Bluetooth, you know Bluetooth. You have it on devices like your phone. A Bluetooth connection is a direct connection between two devices using the Bluetooth protocol. Bluetooth is a protocol. Good things about it? It's very easy to directly connect devices without something like a switch or a WAP. You can directly connect devices together, like your headphones to your phone or your phone to your laptop. You can directly connect them together. And it can be used to connect things like wearable devices, smartphones, watches, headphones together very easily. However, very low bandwidth, very low speed compared to Wi-Fi, and there is a limited connection range, about 10 meters. So if you walk away from your phone more than that, it will disconnect. Very limited connection range. Okay, add the notes to Bluetooth on your sheet. Final section. And Apple Pen checking. Strength, easy to connect devices. Can connect mobile and other wearable devices, but low bandwidth speed and limited range, about 10 meters max. Making sure you've Apple Pen, adding if needed. Okay, final task for this section. Go to LearnCodeIn, revision quiz 6, test your knowledge. Again, as always, click check, and if you get it wrong, try again and correct your answer. Ready to show in lesson. See you next week.